All right, Mr. Breckenridge, it's Fred Johns from Something Cool News here. I understand that you have written a blog piece about this gate that's being constructed in Abbotsford outside of a business, and you apparently have a problem with that. Is that correct?
Yes. I think it says some uncomfortable things about our attitude, or at least what we're doing about homelessness.
And what do you mean by uncomfortable things? What are those? What are you referring to specifically?
Well, the thing is that we're saying all the right things, and politicians at the provincial level are saying all the right things, but I mean, the message that sends is that although the guys at the top are saying all the right things, the actions that are happening on the street, either nothing's happening or you're getting things like the gate going up to keep, because the only purpose of that entire gate is to keep the homeless out of that little alcove. And so we're saying, oh yes, we're all worried about homelessness, but our actions to the homeless and the actions we're taking are screaming, no, go away, we don't want to deal with you.
How can you be certain that the erection of the gate is, as you say, solely for the purpose of keeping out the homeless?
Because there's been no break-ins, nothing has occurred that would do any damage to the building that would necessitate the gate. The only thing that ever happens is that because that's such a sheltered doorway, there was always, for the last several years, there's always been a homeless person sleeping in there. Because it's literally, you're in, you're out of the wind with the little walls and the alcove, you can get no matter which way the wind or the rain's blowing. And as I said in the article, so you get the advantage of the restaurants across the road. You get people coming out and giving you leftovers or buying them a meal or actually donating cigarettes or all kinds of stuff to them. So that was you tended to get the older, more seasoned homeless who were well behaved. They got the place neat, packed all their stuff up, were gone before the morning was, and people had to get into the building and all that kind of thing.
Now, you witnessed homeless people camping out there on a regular basis, then, I take it?
Oh, I've not only witnessed it, I've talked to the guys who did it. I mean, when I talk about the things they were getting from the restaurant, this is what they had related to me as it being a great space. It was kind of handed on. One person would be kind of his space, and if he was moving on or found something else or was leaving the city, it kind of got passed on to another person with sense to use.
So in its own way, it was kind of like primo property, kind of a much sought-after location for homeless people in Abbotsford.
Oh, yes. I'd say that on the top of the outdoor site, it was probably, opposed to the stairs and everything else, it was probably the best site from the sheer ease of setting up every night and the shelter it gave you and the benefits of, as I said, there's that good Italian restaurant right across the road.
So if we were to do up all the homeless sites to sleep in for homeless people in Abbotsford like a monopoly board, this place was like a boardwalk or a park place then?
Oh, it was definitely that.
Now, why is it you think then that all of a sudden this gate shows up? Did something happen or attitudes? What is it?
No, my best guess is based on experience with others that have tolerated the homeless in that area, is that it's the Downtown Businessmen's Association getting on there and just grinding at them until they did something about it.
The Abbotsford Downtown Business Association again?
Yes. It's their policy. They try to move them along, and if you're doing something to accommodate them, they start phoning and pressuring you to move them along.
All right. Now, as I said, we posted your blog entry yesterday on the Daily X on somethingcool.ca, and I thought it was a very well-written blog post, bringing attention to something that I'm sure will slip by the attention of most media outlets, which of course is how we ended up getting a hold of it. And in that, you actually, I'm going to quote you here, and said, yes, the owners have a legal right to put up the gate, as the East German government claimed a legal right to build the Berlin Wall. Do you think maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration? I mean, it is just a gate after all.
No, I don't think it's an over-exaggeration. I mean, in many ways, as I said, we say the right things, but we're shutting them out in so many different ways, especially in Abbotsford. The gate, they're chased out of the parks, and it's just the whole thing when you take it together. And I have to say that I wasn't the one who came up with that analogy. I was talking to a couple of homeless guys, and about this situation and when it
Right. Now you said that this gate perhaps says something larger about the community, and try to suggest that it was a dark disturbance, as it were. And I guess you see the gate not as a gate, but as something else.
I see it as a symbol or a reflection of what's going on in Abbotsford. I mean, as I said, you get some positive talk, but nothing's being done. In fact, camps are being slashed, gates are being put up. Instead of moving forward, in some ways we're still doing the same old things, and things when we know what we need to do, and instead of doing that, we're just keep doing the same old thing.
Right. Now, I know you, of course, being a former homeless person yourself, and we've documented your experience writing your homeless blog and living in your car. You understand the situation at Abbotsford very well as it pertains to pretty much all the issues, but especially homelessness. So we rely on you to be our eyes and ears out that way. Many times you've given us pertinent information that's interesting. Would you then say, as I guess an expert on this field, is this another one of those sustained campaigns by Abbotsford City Council and the Downtown Business Association? As we've talked about this pattern before, where they get all ramped up and they move homeless people along, they do all these things to try and get them out of the way, and then they kind of relax for a little bit, and then they start the cycle again. Is this one of those things happening again, or is it just an isolated incident?
No, that goes on all the time. I think it's specifically done by the Downtown Business and Men's Association, because this had been a long-term. The homeless had been using it; they were regular out there, and so they just can't tolerate that. The theory is, if you let one of them stay, that they're like lice. You get a whole bunch of them.
What has been the reaction of homeless people who used to use that alcove outside this business? What has their reaction been to seeing that gate?
Well, it's hopelessness. Because it's very much says to them, just say, we don't care, get your ass out of our way. And that's, when you talk to them about it, they're just, that's the way things are.
And where are these people supposed to go now when it starts raining and the weather turns?
Well, I know the last occupant. He's basically sleeping around on the streets until he gets woken up during the night and moved along, and then gets woken up and moved along again, and the same old story. It's disturbing here because, and especially in reflection, that it's very much a negative instead of doing anything positive. And one of the frustrations right now is that cities around BC are getting all this money from the BC housing to build and do housing initiatives for the homeless and others as well. And Abbotsford, nobody's putting any applications in. They're sitting on their hands.
Right.
Kamloops has got they're headed for a dozen projects that they've worked with for BC housing, millions and millions of dollars, and we're getting nothing. And it's basically because the cities, nobody at City Hall or around the city is going up to them and saying, we need the money to do this, give it to us.
Real quick, James, if you were approached by someone who said, this is just, this needs to happen, this gate has to be erected, it's just a gate, get over it, what would you say to them?
I would say I would want to know exactly why it had to be. I mean, if there's a really good reason, if the place was being broken into every day, but I mean, just for the sake of not having the homeless around, that's not unacceptable. That's not a reason not to do something. That's actually a poor reflection on our society that we're doing that.